The access to the site is by bridleways and footpaths. It's a bit awkward, to be fair. You sort of park it enables a nice walk, but there's a lot of no access roads that go to the site, and you have to park your car and walk. So, but that said, on a nice day you'd have quite profound views of the Somerset Levels, or the northern part of Somerset Levels. But today I dare say it's been misroaded and more atmospheric, to say the least. So I'll speak to you a bit later. Trying to give you some indication of the incline and where these places were built. It's quite steep up there. We're actually traversing round the hill, hoping to join a path that will take me up there shortly, but it's actually right up there, and this here is quite a steep hill that comes all the way down the valley, or down to the valley, so to say, right down there. So built obviously for defence in mind, and probably visibility in the surrounding countryside too, so just give you an idea. Oh, we're going to have to clear the lenses. And looking at the weather, it's actually every chance I'm not going to see a thing up there, but very atmospheric all the same. I'm actually heading up here, but it's not very well signposted, so well, just got lost my bearings a bit in the gloom. The cow field didn't seem to, the path there didn't seem to take me anywhere, so I've ended up having to squeeze through this barbed wire fence to return onto a trackway. But there is good news ahead, because if you follow me just up here, we're definitely getting close. Let me just show you this. Those there are ramparts. Okay, I'm going to go along to the end of the path and hopefully rejoin it as it approaches to it, but that's certainly the size of Cadbury Camp. Adder alert, danger. So here we are at Cadbury Camp. What the sign goes in to tell us that it's an Iron Age hill fort, constructed probably in the 6th century BC and occupied until the mid of the 1st century AD. It was built by a group who went on to become known as the Dobuni tribe, D-O-B-U-N-N-I. It was then later occupied, apparently, in Roman times as a Roman temple. There was a Roman temple or shrine here. There was a local something to the god of Mars found nearby, which suggested it was once a Roman temple. And then it's also considered that they think it was occupied in the 5th and 6th centuries after the Roman administration broke down, providing a place of refuge. The name Cadbury means Cadda Fort, Cadda's Fort, sorry, Cadda being an early Anglo-Saxon personal name. In World War II it's used as a searchlight batteries to help shoot down the bombers as they went over to bomb Bristol. So that's it, this is the site now. So we have the exterior ramparts here, and one would think when entering through the entrance area, and there's a rampart all along there as well, and sort of one would imagine there would have been a stockade along the top here. There's the bottom of the ditch. I'll try and come down into it just to give you an idea of the scale. So it's about 12 feet at the bottom here. One would imagine it's 12 foot high right up there. That's the bottom. As I said, we've just come across this little area here, which is the approaches into the site. Right, as we come across the little entrance area, we come into another area of ramparts, and much similar. So we had a curtain wall, and then we have another area here. So right up around there, ramparts coming along, very atmospheric. And also ramparts going along here too and curving around. You can probably see the trees silhouetted. Right, on we go. Now I've just walked up here and we're coming in behind the second rampart here now. And there's an area here, and what I'm standing on is a raised bit of ground which I've seen in Celtic forts, which sort of this area here. So you probably may not be able to make this out, but there's as you come into the gateway, the natural course of the entrance would be straight on here, but it's actually blocked by this sort of mound, and it forces you to come in, obviously with a palisade along here, and then also a means of some sort of palisade there, so you're sort of very funneled through a channel, one would think, for defence, and then you're coming into a very flat area. And I don't know if you'll be able to make it out in this poor light, I'm very sorry about the weather. But this is a huge flat area, which would have been the main area of the encampment. It's difficult, isn't it, the weather? We'll stroll through. It's quite a big area, a big area, flat as a sort of playing field almost. Right, so we're coming to the other end of the ramparts now. You can just see the outline of the other side of it. It was in part. Now I must add that we are very, very high up here, the Gordano Valley, and this is one of the ridges on one side. So on a clear day you would be able to see for some miles if you sit on top of this rampart, and perhaps I'll come here later in the summer to enable you to do that. I'm on the east side of it at the moment. Just go on in. Now we're going to the first of the ramparts. Just going down here. It's quite an atmospheric day today, guys, but it is English summertime, so make what we will of that. Now we're coming into the area of the second rampart. Now I think this track here is actually made by people servicing the farm, so I don't think this is actually the area where a traditional entranceway, because I think it's used, obviously this area is used for livestock and grazing as well. So we're coming into the middle of the outer rampart and the inner rampart. Let's stand up on the rampart here. Now this rampart is, I would say, well, it's blooming high. So in terms of height, I would say about 20 feet high, perhaps. And then if you can imagine a palisade on top of that, it's quite a formidable bit of engineering, really. They say about the Romans being engineers, but our Celtic forebearers were pretty good themselves. So just bear with me. Now this is the area where obviously would have been the place, the flat area where all the housing and so forth would have been. I'm just moving across west now towards the actual entrance area, but it's quite a vast area. It's called Cadbury Camp in Somerset. It's Iron Age. It's in a place near a place called Tickenham in North Somerset, near Clevedon, which is on the approaches to Bristol, a place called the Godeno Valley. If you look on a map, find Weston-super-Mare, then move up the coast to a place called Clevedon. Well, it's a stone's throw from there. It's quite hard to get to. Access is via footpaths only, and I got lost in the field earlier and had to climb through barbed wire to get back onto being a lawful non-trespasser. So, but I think I had followed the path correctly, but I just the path hadn't been used in the field, and I couldn't find the stile to get over, so I had to cut it short. Now we're coming over to the west side. Now this is the entrance area, so if you can see all around here is where the ramparts go, and we've just come across this area here. Let's just circumnavigate around the whole of the site. Really, it's enclosed by those trees, so it gives you a good idea of how big it is. Right, now there's an interesting feature here is the entranceway, which you may be familiar with if those of you who may have seen previous Celtic hill forts. You've got the sort of outer and inner rampart, but on the inner rampart you've got it where it sort of doubles, finding words to describe it really, but it sort of shoulders, the shoulder of the inner rampart doubles up on itself, so which means that people, if they were intruders, would be funneled through an area where there's ramparts on both sides. So this is the inner rampart here, and then you've got, this is the bit I was speaking about, the part of the inner rampart on the north side actually comes in a bit shy, so the entranceway, the natural entrance progression would be through this area here and in through the middle of this shoulder, this sort of where it's come in shy. But actually, because of the way the rampart's been generated, you're forced then to come through this area, which comes between the inner west facing rampart and this part of the rampart. So we're coming through here, and that takes you through to the community area there. So let's take you back to where the sign is, and this is now on the west side of the structure, and this is probably where I think the traditional entrance would have been, because of that feature, as I said. You've got the ramparts coming on both sides here, and as I said, this is the shoulder bit where I said it comes in a bit shy, and you'll then actually have to force you through an area where, if you can manage palisade up along here, it would afford quite a bit of opportunity to restrict any intruder to an area where they have the defenders on all sides. So the natural progression would be straight on there, but you're actually forced to come round the back of this rampart. So there we are. Now I'll take you to where the signboard is. I picked a perfect day for it, didn't I? Pouring with rain, my feet are wet through. Okay, so this is how an artist's impression of how it would have looked, and this is the area I was speaking about. You came in through here, and where we were just a minute ago, you're forced around here. So this area here, it shows it's gated there, but I don't think it was. I think that might be an inaccuracy. I think it came round this shoulder of the rampart. I think actually it comes round more, so anyone comes through, if there were to be a gate, it would be more likely to be sort of in this area here, so you're forced to come round with this rampart here. I don't think it was straight on. I'll bring you some footage of some of the fauna around about the hill fort, just to prove it is in fact English summertime. Some thistles here. There we are, very pretty, aren't they? Now, I don't know if you can see the view we have here in front of us. It's down in the valley there. It's the sunset levels. I'm afraid the mist is preventing it, but it does highlight the strategic nature of this site being, sorry, it does highlight the strategic nature of this site being defensive and being able to see the views of for quite a long way. I dare say it's also to anticipate the weather too. You know, if a storm's coming in, they'll be able to see and know how to act on that to manage their livestock and so forth. I'll just give it one more pan because I say the typical English weather, the weather is actually now breaking, so visibility's improved somewhat. So this is standing on the east side of the settlement, the hill fort, and as you can see the views down into north part of Somerset. Where you can see is actually that's a place called Nailsea over there, and over the back of the hill here is a place called Tickenham where I'm heading, so I'll bring you a feature down there shortly. So I'm moving away. That's the outer rampart there on top of the hill there, you can see, and I'm just moving down the path now back to the lower ground in front of me. It's a place called Tickenham where I hope to bring you a small feature as well. In the hope of giving you some idea of scale and the steepness of this site, this is quite a steep walkway right up here. If it were winter, you probably wouldn't even want a toboggan down it. So it's very steep, and I've got to be very careful I don't slip here with my boat shoes on. So we're actually heading over there where that church is, so I'll be with you there shortly. Of course, being in North Somerset, you're never far from a cider orchard. Oh, the apples coming into ripeness here. There's the apples. The company that's near here that makes cider is called Thatcher's. That's the North Somerset company, quite well known in the UK now. Started off as a small cider making family, or small farm in the Mendips, place called Sandford. Long tradition, and they initially, for quite a few years, even when I was growing up, they serviced the local area with cider. For those who don't know, it's an appley flat drink, and then in more recent times they've expanded quite rapidly nationally in fact. So Thatcher's cider is made near here, a place called Sanford, just down near the Mendips, which is probably 10-12 miles away. Just back down on the levels now. As I said, this is the north part of the Somerset levels. We're walking to Tickenham Church, and just where we were a moment ago was up at the behind me, which is the up on top of that area ridge there, which is the Cadbury Camp was. So I was walking to Tickenham Church. This is a typical Somerset Rhine. These sort of things played a significant part in the Somerset Rebellion, the Battle of Sedgemoor. The rebel army came a cropper in so much that the King's army were camped to one side of a Rhine, and the rebel army approached at night, not realising the Rhine was there. And obviously the King's army were then to use the Rhine as cover and prevent anyone from getting across, and it turned out really to be more of a rout than a battle, but that was just down 20-30 miles away, down in Somerset a bit more, near Bridgewater, a place called Western Zoyland. But it's a Rhine very similar to that would have featured. It's filled in now, the Rhine down there. Maybe I'll do a show on that one day, but yeah, these Somerset's full of these little ditches and Rhines. Some of them modern drainage, but it's because it used to be a wetland. A lot more. This has all been drained now, this area, but it would have been full of grasses, weeds, tall grasses, and you had to really use a good local knowledge to get across the area, because it would be full of these Rhines and swampy, marshy areas. And I think in history the area was used as a refuge for people. I think King Alfred is a famous episode in his history where he spent some time in this sort of area to recharge his energy, I think, after a defeat or so. So don't know more than that, but I could read up on it. But I'm pretty certain, yeah, he used the area as a cover because it is very hard. Years ago, it was very hard to access across the Somerset levels because of the terrain. Another Somerset orchard with the trees. The church we're going to. You're never far from a orchard in North Somerset. That said, a lot have been grubbed out for livestock, and but now cider's made quite a big comeback in the national taste. You're finding a lot of them are now being replanted. So. That's where we were, just up on down where the Hill Fort is, and we've come down, and now I'm in a little copse before we go into what's called Tickenham Court. I don't know if I've got access, I'm not sure it's open to the public or anything, I don't think it is, but it's a medieval manor house farm complex which is in the Domesday Book, I'm told, and has got a nice, some medieval features for us to see. As I say, I quite like to bring you these sort of places because they're not on the normal tourist trail, and people don't know about them, and there's lots of little hidden gems and features that people don't know about, and it's quite nice to just bring them to people's attention. So this is the area here. I'm assuming some of the buildings will be modern, but that there through the trees there is, I think, the court, and I'll come in and show you a bit more there, and then that behind it is the church, but I'll show you a bit more in a moment. This is Tickenham Court, group of farm buildings, but they're medieval. You can probably see some remnants of that if I zoom onto the building there. You can see the windows and door. I'm not going to knock to go in. It's not open to the members of the public as such, so I think you can phone them or speak to them and ask them to go and have a look around, but it is a working residential premises, so I think I'll leave them on this occasion.